you're ready. So, give us an overview. What is scalping?
Sure. So the Clear Fork scalping station is a pump station that is on the Clear Fork of the Brazos, just west of Lake Port Phantom Hill. And the contract that uh, was formulated back in the 40s allows us, when the Clear Fork reaches certain flows, we're allowed to use diversion structures to capture that water and transfer it to Phantom. Now, that contract has several levels to it. So the more water you get, the more we're allowed to capture. But even capturing the water itself has some different considerations. So we have gate structures as part of this diversion structure that allow us to hold water back. And so the more water that passes through the Clear Fork, the more we're allowed to shut those gates and capture them. And then we're allowed to pump. And so the rate at which we're allowed to pump is a set amount, which is all of our pumps at the facilities. And then how we close the gates and how much flow we allow to pass downstream is where the contract sets what we can or can't do. And so that station exists solely for that purpose. Is the creek passes close to Lake Port Phantom Hill, and when the time is right, we get the right flows, we're allowed to capture that and move the water into Port Phantom Hill.
Right. So I wonder. So with the recent rain, we had kind of an opportunity to do this, and we had a pipeline issue. Tell me a little bit about that and what's happened.
Sure, yeah. So on April 21st, we'd hit the threshold that would allow us to pump. And so we began operations the way that we normally do. We'd hit the first trigger, which allowed us to close the gate some, but not a lot, and to kick pumps on. We started the pumps and ran them for a few hours and discovered that we had a leak on one of the lines that crosses over to Phantom. And so at that point, we had to shut down the pumps. Our largest pump, we have 8 pumps out there. The largest one is a 100 million gallon a day pump. There's a tremendous amount of pumping capacity, and when that line blows, it's a major issue. So discovered the leak, needed to shut the pump station down, and that led to some downtime as we got an excavator out, uncovered the pipes. These are steel pipes wrapped in concrete, and so you've got to chip the concrete away, and then a welder has to evaluate condition of pipe and ability to replace. We're still working through that process right now. We were able to work around and turn on some pumping capacity to move water. So in this most recent 2 or 3 week event, so far we've moved 76 million gallons of water from the Clear Fork to Phantom, and hopefully we can ramp that up if we're able to make the repair and move forward on that quickly. Also, in addition to the water we've moved, we've had enough water come through Clear Fork that we're allowed to shut our gates all the way. So at this time, we're capturing every drop of water and storing it that we can. That lets the water level rise on the upstream of the diversion structure that then lets us continue to pump. What we're finding is the creek flow has dropped enough that we have to leave the gate shut, let the water level come up, we pump it down relatively quickly, and then we have to wait for that water to rise again. So we're actively pumping, we have the gate shut, and based on the flow threshold that we hit, we have 30 days that we're allowed to leave those gates shut and capture everything that we can.
So do we have a water we might capture?
It's hard to tell because the inflow of the creek is what will make the difference. In other words, we will pump everything that we can capture, and that's depending on what comes in. The Clear Fork notoriously, when it catches a heavy rain, it fills very fast and quick, but then very quickly also dissipates to a low flow. And then we have to start thinking about making sure we meet our requirements to deliver the minimum amount of flow downstream that we're required to. So we don't have a set way to know. It's always kind of a guessing game, and then we periodically have to be out there to just monitor water levels, look at gauges, make sure that we're meeting the requirements of the contract. So hard to say for sure how much we'll be able to actually move into Phantom. 76 million so far.
Good. Thank you. I have one question. Oh, Brian, explain it to me like I'm five. Why does this matter?
The Clear Fork is an interesting facility because it is not necessary to any of our operations, but it was an opportunity that our city fathers saw to build a facility and capture this water. And of course, all of our citizens, having gone through the recent drought, we know the value of water. So, to us, from a water utility perspective, this is an important asset for us because it's a chance to capture water from a basin we don't normally get to get water from and put it in Phantom. It's a way of kind of adding more water to our water bank whenever we get these big wet weather events. So really, being efficient and running the Clear Fork is about prolonging our water supplies, being more resilient through drought conditions.
Okay. All right.
5.